Rápidamente, señores y señores, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Yo soy Jorge Limas y nada más para hacer una contraparte del video anterior de los Elohim y todo eso. Ahora les traigo nuevamente para los que ya lo habían visto y los que seguían el canal antes. Bueno, ya también ya habíamos hablado de esto, la entrevista de Lacerta, que es una reptiliana, y ella habla de hecho en contra de los Elohim y que se decían nuestros creadores y todo eso. Para la gente que no ha visto el video anterior, les sugiero que los vean. Si están escuchando esto en Spotify, no sé cómo le voy a hacer para que esto aparezca en español, porque pues el contenido es en inglés. Pero pues a ver qué pasa. Los dejo, ya no les quito más tiempo porque ya de por sí el video dura mucho.
In the year 2000, a man vanished without a trace after interviewing a mysterious reptilian being. He claimed that he was being watched and followed by some government agency. The entity made a chilling claim. She said that Earth was never ours.
So who does it belong to?
She said her ancestors were the dinosaurs, and what we think was an asteroid impact, the event that wiped out 76% of life, wasn't a natural disaster. It was an ancient war between two extraterrestrial races.
So, if they evolved from dinosaurs, where are they now?
According to her, they still exist, just in much smaller numbers, hidden deep underground, in massive installations, surviving multiple global catastrophes.
But that still doesn't answer the question. If Earth isn't ours, then who does it belong to?
She was clear. It was always theirs.
Then where did we come from?
She claimed that a humanoid alien race came to Earth, used our ape ancestors as a science experiment, and spliced their own DNA into us, accelerating our evolution in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Our creators, she said, designed us to fear her kind, to see them as demons in our myths and religions.
Sounds insane, right? I have so many more questions.
We have the transcripts from that interview, so let's go through them ourselves. Let's dive in.
I hereby certify that the following text is the absolute truth and not a work of fiction. The transcript below contains portions of an interview I conducted with a non-human reptilian being in December 1999. This entity, a female, had already been in contact with a friend of mine, referred to in the text only by the initials EF, for several months. Throughout my life, I was a skeptic regarding UFOs, extraterrestrials, and other so-called paranormal phenomena. When EF first shared his experiences of communicating with a non-human being named Lacerta, I dismissed them as mere fantasies or dreams. However, my skepticism was shattered on December 16th of that year, when I met her in person. The encounter took place in a small, warm room within my friend's remote house in southern Sweden. Despite the undeniable fact that she was not human, my disbelief persisted until she revealed and demonstrated things so astonishing that I could no longer deny their truth. What you are about to read is not another fabricated UFO account filled with speculation and fiction. I am fully convinced that this transcript contains absolute truth. However, I cannot release the complete interview at this time, as I await her permission. For now, I'm sending this abridged version of the interview to 4 trusted friends in Finland, Norway, Germany, and France, with the hope that they will translate and distribute it further. If you receive this document, I urge you to share it with others, whether via email or by printing and copying it. The more people who read it, the better. I can also personally attest to the paranormal abilities demonstrated by her species, including telepathy and telekinesis. My direct connection with her mind left me with no doubt about the authenticity of her words. Nevertheless, I understand that the content of this transcript may seem too extraordinary to be believed. Even as I review what I have written, I am aware of how much it resembles a science fiction story, straight out of television or cinema. I do not expect blind belief from anyone. However, I urge you to read, reflect, and decide for yourself. A second meeting with her has been arranged for April 23, 2000, at the same location in Sweden. During this encounter, she has promised to provide potential evidence of her existence. In the meantime, I am collecting questions that I will present to her. If permitted, I will reveal additional missing parts of the interview, particularly concerning the looming conflict she alluded to. Believe it or not, it makes no difference. But after reading this, you may come to see the truth hidden within these words. Perhaps, in some way, this message will provide hope for humanity. Let's start with the basics. Who or what exactly are you? Are you an extraterrestrial, or do you originate from Earth?
As you can plainly see, I'm not human, nor am I entirely mammalian despite certain similarities. I'm a female of an ancient reptilian race native to this planet. We've inhabited Earth for millions of years. Humans have referenced us throughout history, often mistaking us for gods, particularly evident in Egyptian, Incan, and various ancient cultures. Your religions misunderstood our role, painting us as malevolent serpents. But this depiction is incorrect. We were merely observers when your species was artificially created by alien genetic engineering. Natural evolution could never have produced humanity in just 2 or 3 million years. Evolution is much slower. Your scientists are beginning to suspect this artificial acceleration themselves. Earth is our ancestral home. It was never.
Let's start with the basics. Who or what exactly are you? Are you an extraterrestrial, or do you originate from Earth?
As you can plainly see, I'm not human, nor am I entirely mammalian despite certain similarities. I'm a female of an ancient reptilian race native to this planet. We've inhabited Earth for millions of years. Humans have referenced us throughout history, often mistaking us for gods, particularly evident in Egyptian, Incan, and various ancient cultures. Your religions misunderstood our role, painting us as malevolent serpents. But this depiction is incorrect. We were merely observers when your species was artificially created by alien genetic engineering. Natural evolution could never have produced humanity in just 2 or 3 million years. Evolution is much slower. Your scientists are beginning to suspect this artificial acceleration themselves. Earth is our ancestral home. It was never truly yours.
How old are you?
Unlike your species, we measure time using cycles of Earth's magnetic field rather than orbital revolutions. I'm currently 57,653 cycles old, having reached adulthood and heightened awareness 16,337 cycles ago. In human terms, I'm approximately 28 years old.
Do you have a job or specific role?
I'm essentially a curious student of human social behavior. This curiosity is why I'm engaging with you openly, providing detailed information. I'm interested in seeing how humanity reacts when confronted with genuine truths, especially given how frequently people embrace misinformation and falsehoods regarding UFOs and aliens. I sincerely hope your kind can accept the reality of our existence. Your survival may depend on it.
How did your initial contact with EF come about? I am already familiar with the story from your previous accounts, but could you repeat it here once again for this transcript and for the sake of new readers?
Of course. The story began approximately 2 of your years ago, here in Sweden. I have always had a deep curiosity about your species and behavior. From an early age, I studied your literature as thoroughly as possible, though obtaining human books in my homeland is not an easy task. Fortunately, due to my family's high-ranking status, I was able to access certain materials and even converse with others of my kind who had previously interacted with humans. This interest only grew stronger over time, so, as soon as I was granted permission to visit the surface, I seized every opportunity to observe and learn more about your kind. However, at that time, I was expressly forbidden from engaging in direct contact with humans, as there was no official reason for me to do so. It was in the year you call 1998 when our paths crossed. I was traveling north through a remote forest near the entrance to my world, collecting biological samples. We use these specimens to monitor the impact of environmental pollution and the degradation of Earth's flora and fauna caused by your species. While returning to the entrance, I navigated using my natural ability to sense the Earth's magnetic field. It was then that I unexpectedly came across a solitary cabin in the woods. Inside, I sensed the presence of a human consciousness. It was EF. Although I was not authorized to make contact, curiosity got the better of me. Until that moment, I had only observed your species from a distance. The idea of communicating with a human directly was both intriguing and irresistible. To ensure a successful interaction, I activated my mimicry abilities, which allow me to blend seamlessly into human society. I had never encountered a human alone before, and I saw this as an opportunity. Driven by what you might call primitive curiosity, I knocked on the door. When EF opened it, we engaged in conversation. At the time, my understanding of human language was still developing, but learning is easy when one can tap into the consciousness of the individual they are speaking with. I told him that I was from a distant country in the East, a vague but believable cover story. He accepted this explanation without suspicion, assuming I was just another human traveler. Since my mission required me to stay in the area for several days, I visited EF on 3 more occasions, always maintaining my human disguise. Initially, our discussions revolved around ordinary topics. but soon they delved into deeper subjects: religion, science, and philosophy. I was impressed by his intelligence and independent thinking. Unlike many of your kind, he did not blindly accept societal conditioning or mainstream beliefs. He even expressed an openness to the possibility of extraterrestrial life and acknowledged that alien beings would not necessarily be evil, only different. His views pleased me, as I was well aware of how deeply ingrained the reptilian species' our malevolent stereotype is within human culture. By our fourth meeting, I made a bold decision, one that was highly unorthodox for my kind. I chose to reveal my true form to him. I understood the risks, but EF was uniquely suited for such a revelation. He was intelligent, open-minded, and lived in isolation, meaning that even if he shared his story, few would believe him. As expected, he initially reacted with shock and fear. His response was intense, but understandable. However, after regaining his composure, we were able to have an honest and meaningful discussion. That moment marked the beginning of a series of meetings, which first took place in the forest, but later continued in his home. Eventually, EF introduced me to you, and that is why we are here now, discussing matters that most humans will likely dismiss as fiction.
You mentioned that at the time, you did not have permission to interact with humans. Do you now have the necessary authorization to speak openly with EF and me about these subjects, and even make this information public?
Yes, though the situation is complicated, it would be difficult for you to fully understand, but let's just say that I now hold a position that allows me to grant myself permission. In this role, I am effectively immune to certain restrictions. That is all I can say on the matter.
If other people wanted to make contact with your kind, would they have a chance to do so?
In general, no. We actively avoid contact with humans and only surface in remote areas. Even then, we use our mimicry abilities if an encounter with your kind becomes unavoidable. Just because I am speaking with you now does not mean others will follow my example. Direct contact is extremely rare. If a human were to attempt to locate an entrance to our world and force their way inside, the consequences would likely be unpleasant. On the surface, it is nearly impossible for you to recognize us unless we choose to reveal ourselves. You cannot seek us out. We must be the ones to initiate contact. This is precisely what happened with EF, and such occurrences are highly uncommon.
Briefly, can you clarify if UFOs are real? Are they alien spacecraft? Or do they belong to your species?
Many UFO sightings result from misinterpreted natural phenomena, such as atmospheric plasma flares. However, some observed UFOs are real crafts belonging either to your military, extraterrestrials, or occasionally our species. Our vessels are typically cylindrical, metallic gray, between 20 and 260 meters long, emitting a deep humming sound and marked by 5 bright red lights. Disc-shaped crafts usually belong to aliens, while triangular ones are commonly human, military crafts employing alien technology. Our ships frequently appear in remote regions like the Arctic, Antarctic, or mountainous parts of Asia.
Could you describe your appearance?
Yes, picture a human female figure with reptilian features. My skin is pale green beige, patterned with brown markings. My face has distinctive lines, large eyes with slit pupils and bright green irises for night vision. Our ears are small, highly sensitive, and seal underwater. Teeth are sharp and slightly longer. Hair is thick. Fingers are elongated with sharp nails and small horns on the middle fingers. Sensitive plates run down my spine, crucial for temperature control. We don't have visible tails, just a small internal bone.
Can you tell me how to access your world?
I cannot reveal precise locations for obvious reasons. However, entrances exist globally, particularly in remote regions of North America, Asia, Australia, and near the polar areas. If you ever discover a cave or mine shaft where the walls become smoother, air grows warmer, and unusual sensations arise, turn back immediately. It's likely you've found an entrance to our realm. We inhabit vast underground cities hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, primarily between 8,000 to 16,000 feet below ground. These cities are interconnected through an extensive network of hidden tunnels leading to both remote caves and the surface. To sustain ourselves, we've developed artificial illumination systems, providing sunlight-like conditions through specialized technology. We also have designated sunlight chambers that simulate your sun's rays to regulate our blood temperature. Occasionally, we use isolated surface locations, primarily in America and Australia, to bask in natural sunlight safely. Entrances are scarce and deliberately concealed. Should you find yourself deep within an unusually narrow cave, tunnel, or even what appears to be an abandoned mineshaft, pay close attention. Look for a seemingly artificial metallic gray door embedded into the cave wall. If you're fortunate enough to open it, you'll enter a small, circular technical chamber equipped with ventilation systems and elevators descending deeper underground. If you see our insignia, a gray metallic door bearing our distinct markings, you've found a genuine entry. If you notice symbols different from ours, leave immediately. Not all underground facilities belong to my kind. Many are controlled by other species, some potentially hostile. My advice: if you ever discover such a strange underground installation, flee swiftly and quietly. My home is in one of our smaller underground settlements, east of here. To help you visualize, let me convert some measurements. The settlement is housed within a dome-shaped cavern approximately 4,300 meters below the Earth's surface. It was established as a colony around 3,000 years ago. The cavern ceiling is reinforced with artificial structures, reshaped into a smooth, low dome with an oval layout. The cavern is roughly 2.5 kilometers in diameter, with its highest point reaching 220 meters. At the center of every colony stands a large cylindrical structure, white-gray in color, which supports the ceiling's honeycomb framework. This structure is the oldest and most sacred building in the settlement. Some larger colonies contain multiple support columns. One of our main colonies in Inner Asia has 9 such structures and spans over 25 kilometers. The central building serves multiple functions: religious worship, climate control, and regulation of our artificial lighting system. Our settlement has 5 artificial light sources. Our environment and culture are vastly different from what you know on the surface. To truly understand it, you would have to see it for yourself.
Will I ever get the chance to see it?
Who knows? Time brings new opportunities.
How many of your kind live in this colony?
Approximately 900.
Can you briefly describe the history and evolution of your species? Did you evolve from primitive reptiles, much like humans evolved from apes?
Our story is complex. Might sound unbelievable to you, but it's the truth. Around 65 million years ago, our primitive ancestors, related to dinosaurs, were nearly wiped out by a catastrophic global event, not an asteroid impact, as your scientists believe, but rather a war between 2 alien civilizations fought in Earth's orbit. These 2 species, one humanoid from the Procyon star system and another reptilian from another dimension, both sought Earth's copper resources for advanced technology. The reptilians deployed a powerful fusion bomb intended to eliminate life without harming raw materials. Unfortunately, it caused catastrophic radiation, a nuclear winter, and mass extinctions. Most dinosaurs perished, but some small adaptable reptiles survived. Among these was a smaller intelligent dinosaur species, about 1.5 meters tall, which evolved humanoid characteristics such as a larger brain, dexterous thumbs, and enhanced vision. Over millions of years, this species developed intelligence, learned tool usage, mastered fire, and survived extreme climate shifts. About 10 million years ago, through deliberate genetic engineering, multiple subspecies were unified into our current form, halting further significant evolution. While humans remained primitive, our civilization flourished, colonizing other planets and building vast subterranean cities. Approximately 1.5 million years ago, another alien species visited Earth, genetically manipulating primitive humans to accelerate their evolution as a potential slave race. This intervention sparked conflicts, including clashes between our species and these visitors, events distortedly recorded in human religious texts.
This timeline seems incredible. Do you have any proof?
Your skepticism is natural, given your species' artificially accelerated evolution. However, our lengthy development aligns with natural evolutionary processes. Your scientists misinterpret fossil records, frequently mixing our ancestors' remains with dinosaur bones. Some skeletal reconstructions, notably the iguanodon, mistakenly include our features. Additionally, human authorities aware of our existence actively conceal accurate findings.
If your species lives among us, why hasn't anyone noticed or reported seeing you?
Oh, we have been seen many times throughout history. Ancient civilizations across Asia, Africa, and even the Americas have described and depicted us clearly. Our species is frequently mentioned in your religious texts, myths, and legends, alongside the Elohim. However, your society dismisses such accounts as myths or hallucinations, a beneficial oversight for us. Occasionally, we intentionally allow sightings among certain individuals, ensuring these reports are never taken seriously by mainstream media. There's also another crucial reason we're rarely identified: mimicry. I understand this might sound extraordinary, even shocking, but we possess powerful telepathic abilities. Unlike humans, who must activate dormant regions of the brain through extensive practice, our minds naturally possess stronger and larger capacities, especially after exposure to sunlight. When encountering humans, we can seamlessly project mental images into your minds, making you perceive us as normal humans. When interacting with your kind, your minds collectively become open to manipulation. To most, I appear as an attractive, silver-haired human woman, a mental disguise I crafted years ago. Initially challenging, mimicry has now become second nature, effortlessly protecting my identity.
Could you make me believe I'm conversing with an attractive human woman rather than your true reptilian form?
Typically, yes, but not in your case. Since I've never influenced your perception before, you've already accepted my true form. Attempting mimicry now could severely confuse or even harm you, causing unconsciousness or psychological trauma. I'm unwilling to risk your well-being for this demonstration.
Can your species implant other mental commands, like obedience or servitude?
Technically, yes, but why would we? Most of us hold no hostility toward humans. Implanting commands requires prolonged sun exposure, intensive training, and substantial effort. Secret teachings exist on these techniques, but I personally haven't explored them beyond basic protection and communication.
Does mimicry also help conceal your spacecraft?
Yes, but through technological means. Each craft has advanced technology broadcasting signals that manipulate human perception. It causes observers to either overlook the craft entirely or mistake it for conventional aircraft. However, these devices can't influence cameras, only human minds. Thus, photographs capture the true form of our vessels. Entrances to our underground systems employ similar concealment technology, effectively hiding them from curious eyes.
You've previously mentioned the Elohim who created humans. Who were they, and where did they come from?
The Elohim originated elsewhere in this universe, traveling to Earth from another star system. At first, they appeared intelligent, peaceful, and collaborative. We interacted amicably, sharing knowledge. However, their true intentions emerged. They intended to evolve primitive apes into a new, intelligent race, humanity, viewing Earth as their experimental zoo. We were seen as an obstacle, causing tension and eventually conflict. The Elohim's intervention led to multiple iterations of human evolution. Modern humanity is their seventh attempt. The first advanced human civilizations emerged roughly 700,000 years ago, coexisting peacefully with us until the Elohim decided each version was flawed, periodically resetting and restarting their experiment. Roughly 5,000 years ago, a fierce conflict erupted. They employed devastating sonic weapons to destroy our underground cities. In retaliation, we annihilated many of their surface bases and orbital installations. Humanity was manipulated into believing we were evil, branding Elohim as gods. However, their departure around 5,000 years ago remains a mystery. One day, without warning, their entire civilization vanished, leaving behind deserted installations, unanswered questions, and humanity. Their final creation, now ignorant of its origins, our species survived, hidden beneath Earth, quietly observing, waiting for the inevitable return of your so-called creators, or perhaps another threat entirely.
After the Elohim left Earth around 5,000 years ago, what became of humanity?
Once the Elohim abruptly departed, humanity was left alone to develop independently. Over subsequent centuries, some of my species made contact with various human tribes, primarily in southern regions. We worked diligently to correct the false narrative created by the Elohim, that we were inherently evil. Over the last several millennia, numerous other alien species arrived on Earth, exploiting ancient conditioning in humanity's minds to again portray themselves as gods. Despite their manipulations, the Elohim themselves never returned. However, their eventual return remains possible. If they do, it may be to end their experiment, or perhaps even to destroy this seventh iteration of humanity.
After the Elohim left Earth around 5,000 years ago, what became of humanity?
Once the Elohim abruptly departed, humanity was left alone to develop independently. Over subsequent centuries, some of my species made contact with various human tribes, primarily in southern regions. We worked diligently to correct the false narrative created by the Elohim, that we were inherently evil. Over the last several millennia, numerous other alien species arrived on Earth, exploiting ancient conditioning in humanity's minds to again portray themselves as gods. Despite their manipulations, the Elohim themselves never returned. However, their eventual return remains possible. If they do, it may be to end their experiment, or perhaps even to destroy this seventh iteration of humanity. Unfortunately, your civilization remains unaware of its true origins, your past, the nature of your world, or what lies ahead. Unless you open your eyes and minds, you risk severe consequences in the near future.
Why do you assume I don't believe you?
I sense your doubt. Even as we sit face to face, I feel your skepticism. Yet every word I have shared during this conversation is the absolute truth about our existence.
How many alien species are currently active on Earth?
As far as we know, 14 different species currently reside or are active on Earth. 11 originate from within this universe, 2 from another reality, and 1 advanced species from an entirely separate plane of existence. Most names are impossible for humans to pronounce, and even my species struggles with some. Among these species, many are here merely observing humanity as one might study animals. They pose minimal threat and even cooperate with us. However, 3 races are hostile. One of these hostile species has previously made agreements with some human governments, exchanging technology for copper and other resources. This species has betrayed humanity, contributing to a covert Cold War between rival alien factions over the past 7 decades. Unfortunately, signs point to this conflict escalating into direct confrontation within the next decade or 2. Recent rumors suggest a 15th alien species arrived only a few years ago. We have yet to confirm their presence or intentions.
What do these hostile alien species seek?
Primarily resources, raw materials like copper, hydrogen from Earth's water, critical for their advanced fusion technologies, and specific chemical elements from your atmosphere. 2 alien species are particularly interested in human DNA and tissue due to flaws in their own genetic structures, damaged by radiation and poor evolutionary choices. They use human genetic material in attempts to repair their own DNA, creating hybrids through artificial fertilization and womb technologies. This genetic compatibility issue explains many abductions.
Are abductions solely for genetic purposes?
Not exclusively. Some abductions involve taking reproductive samples, but others are purely observational. More advanced species examine humans intellectually and psychologically, viewing you similarly to how humans study animals. Unfortunately, abductees captured by hostile species rarely survive. Those who return typically encounter friendlier species interested primarily in scientific research, rather than exploitation.
People report encountering numerous alien forms. Why so many different descriptions, if only a few species exist here?
Many advanced alien races possess telepathic abilities, allowing them to project false appearances into human minds. Victims might remember encounters as ordinary medical examinations or bizarre and confusing experiences. This deception prevents accurate identification and discredits abductees publicly. Only 14 alien species actively inhabit Earth. Any additional descriptions typically result from memory manipulation or pure imagination.
How can humans protect themselves from such mental manipulation?
Protecting your mind is nearly impossible due to intentional vulnerabilities placed by the Elohim. The best you can do is remain alert if you suspect mental intrusion. Stay awake, keep your eyes open, and analyze every thought critically. Resistance is challenging and can cause physical harm, but maintaining strong mental discipline is your only defense, effective primarily against weaker alien manipulators.
What does it mean when you say one species comes from a different plane?
Explaining this fully requires extensive mental training and breaking down many conceptual barriers. Imagine a species that evolved billions of years beyond physical existence, capable of traversing different planes without technological assistance. Such beings are supremely powerful, capable of annihilating entire civilizations with a mere thought. We've encountered them only 3 times, and their interests in Earth seem benign, posing no immediate threat to us or humanity.
What will happen if a war breaks out?
War won't necessarily resemble your traditional understanding. Advanced species use indirect tactics, manipulating your leaders, triggering natural disasters via weather, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or social upheaval. Direct attacks are unlikely until humanity is sufficiently weakened. We cannot precisely predict outcomes, but significant dangers certainly lie ahead. It's crucial you remain vigilant. Open your eyes and question everything: your history, leaders, and supposed facts. Many already know these truths, but hide them to maintain order. Your species is neither entirely helpless nor inherently flawed, and it's unfortunate some of my kind see you as expendable. Humanity's survival depends on your willingness to confront uncomfortable realities. This interview, as unbelievable as it may seem, represents absolute truth. Whether accepted or dismissed, events described herein have occurred and will continue occurring, whether or not humanity believes it. Time grows short. Awareness is your greatest protection. Proceed cautiously, remain aware, and perhaps your civilization can avoid the tragedy that looms.
Do negative comments about your species being evil or servants of darkness anger you?
Not at all. I've come to expect such reactions. The programming that makes humans reject and fear reptilian species is deeply ingrained, intentionally embedded long ago by your creators, the Elohim. It's ironic, considering they depicted themselves as beings of light despite their extreme sensitivity to sunlight. These biases were embedded deeply into your collective consciousness and passed down through generations. Many modern humans remain unable or unwilling to break free from this inherited conditioning, relying instead on outdated beliefs and programmed generalizations. This lack of independent thinking disappoints me, though it doesn't surprise me. Throughout history, certain human tribes overcame this prejudice, and we formed genuine, respectful relationships. Sadly, much of humanity remains guided by ingrained programming, shaped by religious and social constructs intended to obscure the truth. When I encounter the hateful or fearful comments you showed me, it confirms my understanding of your current state, rather than causing anger.
So, you're not the species of evil mentioned by some?
That notion is overly simplistic and utterly incorrect. There is no purely evil species, just as there's no purely good one. Every species, including humans and extraterrestrials, contains individuals capable of actions perceived as good or evil. Even the most hostile alien species act according to their needs and perspectives, which humans might misunderstand due to your limited viewpoint. Your simplistic duality of good and evil doesn't translate effectively to the complexities of interspecies interactions. Each being, even within a single species, chooses its path, influenced by its circumstances and consciousness. Labeling an entire species as good or evil reveals more about human limitations than anything else. Even among my kind, there have been incidents I personally disapprove of, though none have occurred recently. Morality is far more nuanced than your binary terms allow.
People often ask about your advanced technology. Can you explain the physics behind your UFOs, how they fly, and perform extraordinary maneuvers?
Explaining this clearly is challenging, but I'll attempt to simplify it. First, you must realize your conception of physical reality is limited and incomplete. Reality isn't purely material. It consists of layers, what you perceive as physical, and another subtler aspect I'll call the sphere of influence. Certain physical phenomena belong purely to the material realm, while other, more complex phenomena involve the sphere of influence. Our technology manipulates interactions between these layers. UFOs, for instance, operate by influencing this subtler field, allowing seemingly impossible movements and rapid maneuvers. They don't defy physics. They simply operate beyond the limits of your current scientific understanding. This layered structure of reality enables us and other advanced species to manipulate space and gravity in ways incomprehensible to conventional human physics. It's this fundamental misunderstanding that makes our technology appear impossible or nonsensical to your scientists.
Can you explain more clearly what you mean by the fourth state of matter you mentioned earlier?
Certainly. Human understanding of matter is limited to three basic states: solid, liquid, and gas, with a superficial understanding of plasma. However, plasma as understood by humans, simply ionized gas, is quite different from what I mean. The plasma state I'm referring to exists between tangible matter and what we call the sphere of influence, an energy-based dimension. This advanced plasma state isn't simply gas, but a refined condition where matter transitions into pure energetic form, losing mass while gaining higher vibrational frequencies. This state is crucial for phenomena like levitation or, as humans inaccurately call it, Anti-gravity. Such technologies are common in extraterrestrial craft and partially understood in secret human military projects. Unfortunately, humans acquired this technology through theft or deceptive exchanges, leading to unstable experiments with dangerous levels of radiation and numerous casualties. It exemplifies your species' problematic approach, pursuing technology without full comprehension, often for destructive purposes.
Is there a scientific basis for paranormal abilities, like telepathy and telekinesis?
Absolutely. All paranormal phenomena have scientific foundations rooted in advanced physics. To grasp this, you must first understand reality as multi-layered. Your physical reality, objects, bodies, planets, is mirrored energetically in a dimension called the sphere of influence. Within this sphere exist information fields and energy layers, including one you might call parallel, which bridges the material and consciousness realms. Your consciousness has layers within this sphere, storing your thoughts, memories, and identity. Advanced beings, including my species, access this dimension consciously via biological mechanisms in our brains, primarily the pituitary gland. This ability allows interaction beyond physical boundaries, enabling telekinesis, interaction with matter, and telepathy, interaction between consciousnesses. Humans theoretically possess this potential, but deliberate genetic modifications by your creators block most access. Even basic mental defense against external influences is challenging for humans, though possible with immense focus and alertness. Closing your eyes or relaxing reduces your resistance, making your mind vulnerable to influence.
Previously, you avoided detailed discussions on these topics. Why speak openly now?
During our initial conversation, I saw little reason to overwhelm you with complex details. Your current reaction suggests my initial caution was justified. However, today's demonstration seems to have sparked genuine curiosity, which might encourage deeper reflection on the true nature of your reality. Also, human scientists are likely to dismiss these explanations as nonsense or fantasy, minimizing any risk from sharing this knowledge. Remember, concepts you label occult or magic are simply aspects of advanced science you don't yet comprehend. Recognizing this fact would significantly advance human understanding. With this, I'd prefer to conclude our discussion on these complex matters.
Let's move on to UFOs. Could you explain how our governments acquired alien technology to the point where they could develop their own projects? Did this relate to the Roswell incident?
Yes, the Roswell incident was involved, but it wasn't the first occurrence. I'm no historian. I study your current behavior, but I can share what I've gathered about events from that era. Between 1946 and 1953, there were 5 known incidents where extraterrestrial craft crashed on Earth. The Roswell incident actually involved 2 alien ships that collided mid-air, crashing separately in what you now call the United States. These craft belonged to a species whose technology allowed damaged ships to remain airborne temporarily, resulting in crashes far apart from each other. Though these weren't the first crashes, the first was in 1946, but that craft was utterly destroyed. The incidents around Roswell were pivotal. Humans find it absurd that highly advanced ships could crash, but the reason lies in Earth's unstable magnetic field. The species piloting these crafts relied on technology optimized for their home planet's stable magnetic environment. Earth's erratic magnetic fluctuations created dangerous anomalies, causing uncontrollable flights and, ultimately, crashes. In 1947, a magnetic fluctuation, probably triggered by atmospheric electrical disturbances, caused 2 ships to collide. Both ships were severely damaged and crashed separately, resulting in fatalities for all occupants. Human military personnel quickly secured the crash sites, classified them top secret, and transported the wreckage and alien bodies to secure locations for examination. Their naive ambition was to exploit this technology against perceived global threats. Between 1949 and 1952, during your attempts to reverse engineer alien technology, a catastrophic accident occurred. Human scientists accidentally activated part of an alien drive, unshielded, generating a massive plasma magnetic pulse. This resulted in a devastating bioelectric reaction, incinerating approximately 20 to 30 scientists over several days. 2 more crashes occurred in 1950 and 1953, yielding relatively intact crafts, particularly the 1953 crash, which had a functioning drive core. However, your scientists misunderstood the technology fundamentally, causing ongoing problems and reliance on unstable elements. Eventually, the alien species behind these crafts, one of several groups hostile to humanity, became concerned about human attempts to replicate their technology. Rather than starting a conflict, they approached human governments diplomatically in the 1960s, disguising their true intent: resource extraction, copper, hydrogen, air, as curiosity and scientific exchange. In your ignorance and desire for power, you readily accepted the deal, exchanging precious resources, DNA, and secure bases in exchange for incomplete or misleading technological knowledge. By giving you deliberately flawed technology, they ensured ongoing dependence and instability. Your attempts to correct technical flaws only produced further complications. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, tensions escalated due to numerous treaty violations by both sides, culminating in military confrontations. A decisive conflict involving electromagnetic pulse weapons against alien craft and attacks on their underground installations led to a breakdown in relations. This hostile alien species then withdrew contact entirely, though they remain actively hostile, planning to dominate Earth's resources and genetic material. Although currently lacking sufficient forces and capabilities to act openly, we anticipate subtle and covert actions against humanity in the coming decades.
Won't other extraterrestrial species intervene to prevent these hostile actions?
You're misunderstanding their stance. Advanced species regard humans as primitive animals, subjects within a vast laboratory experiment. Direct intervention would jeopardize their projects, and they see little incentive to risk conflict with other species over your fate. Most would rather choose another research site or observe from a safe distance, indifferent to humanity's struggles. Imagine observing an anthill. Suddenly, someone steps on it. Would you walk away, look for another anthill, or watch the ants respond to the crisis? More importantly, would you, despite being larger and more powerful, defend those tiny ants against the intruder? Probably not. Now picture this scenario from the perspective of beings vastly more advanced than humans. To them, we are the ants. It's naive to expect intervention from a higher intelligence when we're in crisis. Yet, humans have often looked to such beings for aid, especially as global tensions rise and former allies become adversaries. Indeed, elements within human governments are fully aware of these advanced beings. Take, for instance, a massive, partially underground facility in the capital, specifically designed for interspecies interaction. Meetings between humanity and extraterrestrials regularly occur here, hidden beneath layers of secrecy. Valuable information has been exchanged, though these beings consciously avoid direct involvement in our conflicts. Their stance is clear: humans must learn to resolve their issues independently, becoming wise enough to avoid creating catastrophic situations. You should strive to free yourselves from old conditioning and refuse to be controlled by entities or beliefs. You are, after all, free spirits. Those are my final words. Bye for now, until we meet again for our next and last interview.
Despite my best efforts to keep my identity hidden, following Lacerta's advice, unusual events began unfolding just 2 days after the first transcript was distributed abroad. Please do not mistake my words for paranoia, but I now believe that the publication of the interview may have attracted attention, either from official authorities or an unknown organization. Until these events occurred, I had always dismissed claims of government surveillance as the delusions of conspiracy theorists. But after what I experienced firsthand, my perspective has changed. It all started in January, shortly after the transcript was released. My telephone mysteriously stopped working for several hours. When service was restored, I noticed strange interference, faint echoes, clicking sounds, and an odd whirring noise whenever I made calls. No technical defect could be found. That same night, I discovered that crucial files had disappeared from my computer's hard drive. Strangely, the missing data consisted only of interview-related materials, illustrations, and documents related to my paranormal research. A diagnostic scan revealed that only specific sectors of my hard drive had become defective, all of which had previously stored these sensitive files. Fortunately, I had backed up some of the data on floppy disks. Things became even stranger when I stumbled upon a hidden directory buried deep within my system. The folder contained an unfamiliar designation, 72. I had never created such a directory, and neither I nor my computer-savvy friend could decipher what it meant. When I attempted to show it to him, the directory vanished without a trace. Then, a more unsettling incident occurred. One evening, I returned home to find my apartment door wide open. The television, which I was certain had been switched off before I left, was on. Nothing appeared to be stolen, but the eerie feeling that someone had been inside lingered. Soon after, I noticed a particular minivan parked near my residence. It bore British markings and was branded with the logo of a European supermarket chain. At first, I thought little of it. However, I soon realized that the same vehicle was following me, trailing behind my car, even when I traveled 65 kilometers to another town. Each time I returned, the van was positioned elsewhere on the street, as if monitoring my movements. Over the course of several encounters, I never once saw anyone enter or exit the vehicle. One evening, I approached the van and knocked on the door. There was no response. I tapped on its tinted windows. Again, nothing. Then, after 2 weeks of persistent sightings, the van disappeared as suddenly as it had appeared. I confided in EF about these incidents, and he strongly advised me to relocate and reschedule my next meeting with Lacerta to ensure both her safety and my own. Taking his advice, the second interview was conducted on April 27, 2000, at a different, isolated location. As far as I can tell, the meeting went unnoticed. Once again, I am fully aware of how this may sound. To some, it may resemble the plot of a low-budget science fiction film, an overactive imagination spiraling into paranoia. But I can only reiterate my words with complete sincerity. Every detail I have shared is the unvarnished truth. Believe it or don't, it changes nothing. These events have already happened, and they will continue to unfold whether you accept them or not.
Our civilization is in danger.